Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Bernie Sanders live from Lawrence, Kansas. We're going to cut right to the event. There's an opening speaker. I don't know who he is, but here we go. Thank you to KSHB, Kansas City 41, for bringing us this local feed.
That we take care of those of us who come home maimed and wounded. I'm a combat veteran. I fought for my country. I will continue to fight. If you're with me, join me, spread the word, go out, vote, join the revolution and feel the burn. Up next, it gives me my great pleasure to introduce Andy Weber, who is a Native American. She'll be speaking with you now. Thank you.
A little hard to follow that. Oh. Okay, I'll yell. Can you hear me now? Okay. Lean in? Okay. Kolomosi, Nida Shinzi Tua Kanisa, Wat Ninon Giai Stockbridge Muncie. Hello, my name is Andy Weber, and I am honored to have this opportunity to be a part of something much, much larger than myself. That something is a political revolution being led by Bernie Sanders. He says what he means, and he means what he says. And because of that, I support Bernie Sanders. I am an enrolled member of the Mohican Nation in Wisconsin. As a Native American, I have only been afforded the right to vote since 1924. I was raised to know the importance of showing up to all elections, especially the primaries, to cast my vote. As a sophomore here at Haskell Indian Nations University, with ambitions to continue my education beyond my undergraduate studies, Bernie Sanders understands the educational challenges facing many Americans, including Native Americans. And because of that, I support Bernie Sanders. I've seen firsthand the healthcare challenges, including access to proper healthcare facing many Americans, including Native Americans. Bernie Sanders understands those challenges and is committed to addressing them. Because of that, I support Bernie Sanders. We all know, unfortunately, the deck is stacked against average Americans through the broken political and economic systems in this country. Bernie Sanders has and continues to lead those fights when others lack the courage to even address them. And because of that, I support Bernie Sanders. Climate change knows no race, no color, or social class. It is an imminent threat that must be acted on. Access to clean water, healthy food, and a healthy environment are inherent human rights. They should be afforded to all Americans without regard to your race or social class. As the next President of the United States of America, I'm confident that Bernie Sanders will act on these pressing issues. As a parent, a student, a steward to Mother Earth, and as an Indigenous woman, I support Bernie Sanders. Ladies and gentlemen, I feel the burn, and it is my honor to introduce the next President of the United States of America, Bernie Sanders.
Thank you, Lawrence. I apologize for beginning late, but we got a couple of thousand people outside and we're still trying to get in. So but let me pick up and thank Jonathan and Andy for their wonderful, wonderful introductions. And let me just pick up on the point that Jonathan made. Here's the truth. 2002, the most important foreign policy decision of modern American history was made. President Bush, Vice President Cheney, and the entire administration, they said that we should go to war in Iraq. I listened very carefully to what they had to say, and I ended up believing that they were not telling the truth. I voted against the war. My opponent, Secretary Clinton, then in the Senate, heard the same evidence. She voted for the war. That's an important difference between the two of us. Now, as Jonathan mentioned, the cost of war is far, far greater than most people recognize. The cost of the Iraq and Afghanistan wars are not just 6,700 brave men and women who went off to traumatic brain injury, very nasty illnesses. And not only are they dealing with these issues, so are their wives and their husbands and their children. And the lesson of Iraq is that we should understand that war is a last resort, not a first resort. Because we understand that the men and women who are going to fight those wars are not the sons and daughters of the billionaire class or the politicians. They are working class kids from all over this country. And the second lesson of the war is that we must never, and I speak as the former chairman of the Senate Veterans Committee, we must never, ever turn our backs on the men and women who put their lives on the line to protect us. You know, sometimes I hear my colleagues talking about how we go to war and how we should go to war and how we should do this and how we should do that. But when it comes to voting for adequate funding for the VA and the needs of our veterans, somehow these same brave, courageous people who talk about war all the time, they're not there when we need them to vote for our veterans. Now, this campaign is a different type of campaign because we're doing something very radical. We're telling the truth. And telling the truth in American politics is sometimes pretty unusual. So let me tell you some truth. And when you talk about truth, the truth is not only pleasant, it is not always pleasant. I mean, I wish I could tell you that everything was going great, no problems, but I would be lying to you if I told you that. On the other hand, if we are to go forward as a nation, we need to deal with reality, no matter how unpleasant that reality may be. And here is some truths, though they be unpleasant. Truth number one, you are living in a country today that has a corrupt campaign finance system that is undermining American democracy. Now, I wish I could tell you that in a way that does not sound so harsh or ugly, but then I would not be telling you the truth. Here is the truth again. A handful of billionaires, Koch brothers and a few others, you have heard of the Koch brothers. Koch brothers, second wealthiest family in America, and a few of their billionaire friends will spend an estimated $900 million in this campaign trying to elect candidates who represent the wealthy and the powerful. Now, I want you just to think about this. And one of the things about this campaign is to ask people to think outside of the box, to think outside of the status quo and conventional wisdom. When you have one family and a few of their billionaire friends spending more money than either the Democratic Party or the Republican Party nationally, that is not democracy. That is called oligarchy. People fought and died throughout our history to protect our way of life. Our way of life is democracy, not oligarchy. Together, we are going to stop this oligarchic trend. Right now, one of the differences between Secretary Clinton and myself is how we raise money for our campaigns. Secretary Clinton has several super PACs. She has raised, just in the last reporting period alone, $15 million from Wall Street. Not to mention giving speeches behind closed doors to Wall Street firms for hundreds of thousands of dollars. Now, what I kind of think is, if somebody is going to be paid $225,000 a speech, it's probably a great, wonderful speech that she would want to share with the American people. I am very proud to tell you, we do not have a super PAC. We don't want the money from Wall Street or corporate America. What we have done in this campaign in terms of fundraising is literally revolutionary. We have received, this is really unbelievable, something I never in a million years would have thought could have happened. We have received, up to this point in the campaign, 4 million individual contributions. That is more contributions than any candidate in the history of this country at this point in a campaign. So to paraphrase Abraham Lincoln at Gettysburg, this campaign, which, by the way, do you know what the average campaign contribution is? $27. So I am not indebted to Wall Street, the drug companies, the fossil fuel industry. I'm indebted to millions of people for that $27. So to paraphrase Abraham Lincoln at Gettysburg, this campaign truly is a campaign of the people, by the people, and for the people. Now, when you have a corrupt campaign finance system, when you have billionaires electing candidates to the Congress or the statewide offices around this country, what you end up with, obviously, is a Congress that is more interested in the needs of the billionaires than they are of the middle class and working families of this country. And the result of that is that we end up with a rigged economy. What does that mean? What a rigged economy means is that ordinary Americans, people in the middle class, working class, lower income people, in many cases are working longer hours for lower wages. It means that in America today, a lot of people don't know this, our people work the longest hours a year of any people in the industrialized world. Do you all know that? The Japanese are very hard-working people. We work longer hours than do the Japanese. So what you got in America today is mom is working, dad is working, kids are working, marriages are stressed because mom and dad don't have the quality time to spend together. Kids are not getting the attention that they need. And after all of that, 58% of all new income generated in America today is going to the top 1%. You guys ready for a radical idea? Together, we are going to create an economy that works for all of us, not just the 1%. So you've got a corrupt campaign finance system, billionaires buy elections. You got a rigged economy, the rich get richer, almost everybody else gets poorer. And then you got something else. You got a broken criminal justice system. Now again, I want you to think outside of the box. Go beyond establishment thinking. Go beyond the status quo. Ask yourselves this very simple question. In the richest country in the history of the world, which is what we are today, how does it happen that we have more people in jail than any other country on earth? How does it happen? How does it happen? So the question is, and most of the people in jail the people in jail are disproportionately African American, Latino, and Native Americans. Now, let me throw out another radical idea. I know this is a conservative state. You ready for two radical ideas? Although I have the feeling that Lawrence may not be that conservative a community. So here is radical idea number two. Right now in America, youth unemployment is off the charts. For white kids who graduated high school, 33% are unemployed or underemployed. Latino kids, 36%. African American kids, 51%. So you got millions of young people who graduated high school, didn't drop out, stand out on street corners. Some of them are going to get into trouble. So here's radical idea number two. We're going to invest for our young people in education and jobs, not jails and incarceration. Now, when we talk about a corrupt campaign finance system, and when we talk about a rigged economy, and when we talk about a broken criminal justice system, all of that comes together in a story that kind of took place about a month ago. Here's the story. Goldman Sachs, as many of you know, is one of the major financial institutions on Wall Street. And Goldman Sachs, along with the other major Wall Street firms, is largely responsible, of course, for the financial collapse in 2007, which resulted in millions of Americans losing their homes, their jobs, and their life savings. About a month ago, Goldman Sachs reached an agreement with the federal government, and they reached a settlement to pay $5 billion. $5 billion. Other banks even paid larger settlement agreements. Why did they reach this agreement? Because, as everybody knows, they were selling worthless packages of subprime mortgage loans to investors and the general public. So well, that's right, they are crooks, as a matter of fact. You know, I think it is fair to say, I mean, that's one way of expressing it, but I think it is fair to say that if you pay $5 billion fine for breaking the law, what are you? You're a crook. All right, so that's that. And again, you know, when I talk about unpleasant truths, this is what I am talking about. I'm not happy to tell you this, but in fact, many of these major Wall Street firms, their whole business model is based on fraud. That's just the way it is. And we got to recognize that, which, by the way, should tell us that when you have a handful of huge financial institutions today that are bigger than they were when we bailed them out because they were too big to fail, then maybe what we should be doing today is bringing back Glass-Steagall and breaking them up. But let me get back to my story, which appears to be getting longer and longer. It started off as a short story, getting longer. Here's the second. So the first part is you got major Wall Street institutions, some of the most powerful institutions in America that are based on fraud, basic dishonesty, cheating people. Not a good thing. All right? Learn that in Sunday school. Ain't a good thing to be cheating people. Okay, point number two. All right, so you got a bunch of fraudulent operators. Point number two, what about political power in America? Well, turns out that Wall Street, not just Goldman Sachs, but all of these companies, make very large, or shall I say, huge, I get very nervous about ever using that word again. Right? So let's call it very large campaign contributions to candidates. Now that's political power. All of you, I hope, vote. But these guys, and I sure hope you're going to be voting on Saturday at the caucus. But these guys, they have the right to vote, but they also are pouring huge amounts of money into the candidates that they like. That's political power. Third point is called the revolving door. You know what the revolving door is? This is what the revolving door of politics is. You work on Wall Street. You're head of a major financial institution like Goldman Sachs. Then you go to work for the government, and then you go back to Wall Street. Turns out that in the last 20, 25 years, Goldman Sachs has given the government 2 secretaries of the Treasury. Got it? Wall Street, Secretary of the Treasury, back on Wall Street. One under a Democratic administration, one under a Republican administration. Kind of bipartisan, you know. So that's political power. But here is the most important point. Most important point, and what the American people are angriest about, is the fact that if some kid in Kansas or Vermont is picked up today with marijuana, you're familiar with marijuana, I can see that also. Oh, this story is getting longer and longer. We're going to be here all night. All right, we'll talk about marijuana in a second. But here's the point here. The point is, some kid in Kansas, some kid in Vermont gets picked up with marijuana. That kid will have a police record which will stay with him or her for the rest of their lives, which is, by the way, a serious issue, because you go out looking for a job, you got a police record, it may be held against you, all right? Yet if you are an executive on Wall Street whose illegal behavior helped to crash the American economy, resulting in millions of people suffering, losing life savings, losing their homes, losing their jobs, you know what happens to you? You get a pay increase. $5 billion settlement for the federal government for illegal behavior, and yet none of these people are prosecuted or charged with a crime. So I will tell you what together we are going to do. We are going to bring back justice to the criminal justice system. You know, what we all learned in school is that the heart and soul of the American justice system is equal justice for all. If you're poor and you break the law, you got to pay the price. If you are rich and on Wall Street and you break the law, you also have got to pay the price. Now, when we talk about a broken criminal justice system and why we have more people in jail than any other country, it is a long, long story, and a lot of factors are involved. But here is one that has disturbed me, and I'll tell you what we're going to do about it. It turns out that over the last 30 years, millions of Americans have received police records as a result of having been caught possessing marijuana. Now, you can argue, and there are a lot of scientists who argue it, the pluses and minuses of marijuana. But right now, as part of the Federal Controlled Substance Act, and that is the act by which drugs are rated as to how dangerous they may be, Marijuana is a Schedule I drug right next to heroin. Now, I trust that everybody in this room knows that in this country today we have a very serious problem in my state, many other states, with opiate addiction and heroin addiction. People are dying every day from overdoses on heroin. That is a killer drug, period. But it makes no sense to me to have marijuana at the same Schedule I level as heroin. That is why I've introduced legislation. I have introduced legislation that takes marijuana out of the Federal Controlled Substance Act. In our federal system, states make the decision about legalizing or not marijuana, but it should not be, in my view, a federal crime. Now, one of the reasons that our campaign has been as successful as it has been, we started off at 3% in the polls, 60, 70 points behind Secretary Clinton. On Tuesday, we won major victories, not by a little bit, in Oklahoma, in Colorado, in Minnesota, and in my own state of Vermont. And in every case, those were double-digit victories. And I think that if all of you and your friends and coworkers come out on Saturday, we're going to have a pretty good victory here in Kansas. All of you know that from a world historical perspective, democracy is a pretty new concept. Pretty new. Last couple of hundred years. American Revolution, French Revolution, etc. And before that, what you had is societies, by and large, where kings and queens and czars made all of the decisions. What we have got to do in this country today is revitalize American democracy. And what that means is we cannot continue down a path where in November 2014, the last national election, 63% of the American people didn't vote and 80% of young people didn't vote. What we have got to do, and what we've got to make our friends understand, is there are people on the top who want nothing more than for folks not to vote. They want people to be apathetic. They want people to be uninvolved. They want friends of yours to say, oh, politics, it's all crap. I'm not going to get involved. That is exactly what the Koch brothers and the billionaires want. Because if ordinary people are not involved in the process of standing up and fighting for themselves, then it will be the campaign contributors and the lobbyists who will make the decisions for those people who are not involved. And that is what the political revolution is about. It is telling the Donald Trumps of the world that we will not allow them to divide us up between blacks and whites and Latino and Native Americans and Asian Americans. We're going to stand together. Gay and straight, we're going to stand together. Men and women, people born in this country, people who've come from abroad. When we stand together and we don't allow the demagogues to divide us up, there is nothing that together we cannot accomplish. That is what this campaign is about. I want to say a word, because I am aware that I am in Kansas. And I want to say a word about bigotry and discrimination. This country, for hundreds of years, has struggled with discrimination and bigotry. All of you know what the settlers did when they first came to this country to the Native Americans, and that oppression goes on today. I just had the opportunity to meet with Andy and some other leaders in the Native American community. And we will stand with the Native people in making sure that finally, they receive the respect and dignity to which they are entitled. We have struggled with racism in this country for hundreds of years, and we are struggling with it today. And I promise you, as president, that no president will fight harder to end institutional racism in this country. I want to say a word about women's rights. And everybody here knows that 100 years ago, women in America did not even have the right to vote. But women all across this country stood up with their male allies and fought back and said that in America, women will not be second-class citizens. Today in America, women earn 79 cents on the dollar compared to men. And I know that every man in this room will stand with the women in the fight for pay equity. And when we talk about bigotry and when we talk about discrimination, the time is long overdue to stop homophobia in the United States of America. We have got to take on all of those politicians and others who would deny our gay brothers and sisters the right to marry. And we have got to fight to end discrimination against the LGBT community in terms of employment, housing, and in other areas. scapegoating in this country, whether it's against the gay community, whether it's against Muslims, whether it's against Mexicans, has got to end. Now, let me tell you, if I might, tell you another story. This is story number 2 for tonight. I know that there are politicians in Kansas and around the country who delight in picking on the poorest of the poor, who think that they can win votes by telling the middle class that they are subsidizing poor children and low-income people. Let me say this to the government of Kansas or any other state government or the federal government. Let's talk about welfare abuse. Let us talk about the major welfare abuser in the United States of America, which happens to be the wealthiest family in this country, the Walton family that owns Walmart. Now, you want to hear about welfare abuse? The Walton family, the wealthiest family in America that owns Walmart, they pay their workers wages that are so low that many of their workers are forced to go on Medicaid, food stamps, and subsidized housing. And do you know whose taxes pay for those Medicaid, for that Medicaid, food stamps, and subsidized housing? You do. So on behalf of the wealthiest family in America, the Walton family, I want to thank you for subsidizing them. They are very appreciative of your help. After all, they're only worth $60, $70 billion. It's hard to get by on that. And they appreciate your help. But in all seriousness, what I say to the Walton family, get off of welfare, start paying your workers a living wage. Now, the reason this campaign is doing so well, and it has so much enthusiasm, and I'm so proud that all of you are out here this evening, the reason that we are doing so well is actually we listen to the American people and not just Wall Street and billionaire campaign contributors. We are listening to workers throughout this country who are telling me they can't make it on $8, $9, $10 an hour. They are telling me that the federal minimum wage of $7.25 an hour is a starvation wage and must be raised. And that is why I believe that we have got to raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour over the next few years. We are listening to senior citizens in Kansas, Vermont, and all over this country who are trying to make it on $11,000, $12,000 a year Social Security. And you know what? Nobody makes it on $11,000, $12,000 a year Social Security. We have Republican candidates and members of Congress who believe that we should reduce benefits, lower benefits for people on Social Security, on disability, and disabled vets. And I've got some bad news for them. We are not going to lower Social Security benefits. We're going to raise Social Security benefits. This campaign is listening to young people all across America. And again, I want you to go outside of the status quo. Think big, not small, and ask yourself what young people are saying all over this country, what they're saying. Why does it have to be that I leave college $30,000, $50,000, $70,000 in debt just out of curiosity? How many people here have student debt? Anybody here not have student debt? Well, you're in the minority. You're the lucky few. Millions of Americans, young and not so young, are carrying outrageous levels of student debt. Woman in Burlington, Vermont, dream was to go to medical school. She's now practicing primary health care, $300,000 in debt. Woman graduated dental school in Iowa, $400,000 in debt. My friends, this is crazy stuff. Okay? And again, it's thinking outside of the box, not accepting the status quo. Education, I need not inform anybody in this room, is a good thing. Learning is what being human is about, and if we're going to compete in the global economy, we need the best educated workforce in the world. That is why I have introduced legislation that does two things and will make this happen if I'm elected president. Number one, in 2016, when we talk about public education, it's not good enough to just be talking about first grade through 12th grade. That was a great idea 50 years ago, but today a college degree in many respects is the equivalent of what a high school degree was 50 years ago. So when we talk about public education today, what we should be talking about is making public colleges and universities tuition free. And we also should be talking about substantially reducing the level of student debt in this country. Now, I am often accused by my opponents and the establishment and the big money interests of thinking too big. Imagine that in America we could do what Germany does, Scandinavia does. You know, they invest in their young people because they understand that a well-educated population is what will make them successful in years to come. So I think that people should not be punished for going to college or graduate school. They should be rewarded. Now, to make public colleges and universities tuition-free and to substantially reduce student debt is an expensive proposition. It's about $70 billion a year. How are we going to pay for that? I will tell you how we pay for it. We're going to pay for it by a tax on Wall Street speculation. As all of you remember, after Wall Street's greed and illegal behavior nearly destroyed this economy, Congress bailed them out. Now it is time for Wall Street to help the middle class of this country. Now, a lot of my Republican colleagues, candidates for president, they go all over America and they talk about family values. I want everybody here to understand what they mean by family values. What they mean is that no woman in this room, in this state, in this country should have the right to control her own body. I disagree. In this state and in other states, there is a war against women. It has got to end. Now, I understand that you all know that in politics there is a lot of hypocrisy. You all know that. But I'll tell you something, on this issue of a woman's right to choose, I think hypocrisy goes to the highest level, and I'll tell you why. These Republicans go around the country and they say, government is terrible. We hate government. We're going to cut Social Security, Medicare. We're going to get rid of the Affordable Care Act. We are going to get government off of your backs. Except when a woman has to make a very personal choice. Then they love the government. Then they want federal government and state government to tell every woman in this country what she should or should not be doing with her body. That is hypocrisy. And this campaign is listening to our brothers and sisters in the African American community. And they are asking us, how does it happen that if a black male baby is born today, that baby stands a 1 in 4 chance of ending up in jail? And that is why we have got to reform this broken criminal justice system. And that is why we need police department reform in this country. None of us want to continue seeing it. Medical problem? All right, we need a medic. Sorry, we got medic, a doctor, nurse in the room. Medic, Secret Service, we can do that? Okay, let's take a break. All right, keep it down, keep it down. Sorry. Got it? Okay. Woman, person okay? Okay, thank you. All right, thank you all. Let me move to another issue, and that is the fact that I am a member of the Senate Committee on the Environment and the Senate Committee on Energy. And what I can tell you as someone who has spoken to many, many scientists in the United States and around the world, the debate over climate change is over. Climate change is real. It is caused by human activity. And as you all know, what the scientists are telling us, we have a short window of opportunity to transform our energy system away from fossil fuel to energy efficiency and sustainable energy. And what the scientists are telling us, and we're seeing more and more evidence of this every single day. If we don't get our act together, this planet by the end of the century will be 5 to 10 degrees Fahrenheit warmer than it is now, and that means more drought, more floods, extreme weather disturbances, acidification of the ocean, rising sea levels, and international conflict as people fight over limited natural resources. We have a moral responsibility to leave this planet healthy and habitable for future generations. And I want to connect some dots here. Why is it, do you think, that not one Republican candidate for president is in agreement with the scientific community? And the answer is, as some here have suggested, it ties into a corrupt campaign finance system. And the truth is that if any Republican got up here and said, you know, I've talked to scientists, I've read some of the literature, we got a real problem, we got to transform our energy system, on that day, the fossil fuel industry, the Koch brothers, would cut their campaign funding. So I say to my Republican colleagues and Republican candidates for president, worry more about your children and your grandchildren, the planet they will inherit, worry more about future generations and this planet than your campaign contributions and the profits of the oil industry and the coal industry today. And by the way, for all of those tough guys out there, the politicians are so tough beating up on poor people, why don't you beat up on people who can fight back like the fossil fuel industry? It's very easy to beat up on the poor and the helpless, not so easy to take on the billionaires who control the fossil fuel industry. Now, I've been criticized for many things every day in every way, and I'm proud of that, you know. Back in 1936, when Franklin Delano Roosevelt was being nominated for a second term, he said something to the effect that what he called the economic royalists, that's back in the 30s, what I call the billionaire class, he said the economic royalists hate him with a passion, but he welcomed their hatred. I welcome the hatred of the fossil fuel industry. Not afraid of them, not afraid of Wall Street, not afraid of corporate America. If we stand together, we can take them on. Now, when I ask the people of the United States to think big, let me give you one example of what I am talking about. All over the world, we need help. Jesus. All right, medics. We need a medic here? Okay. Break. Medic, doctor, nurse. Right here. We got somebody help? Right here, please. Right here in front. No, you're right. People have been standing for too long. It's not good. All right, can we get somebody here? Okay, we got some medics coming. Okay. It's ironic, I think she's being escorted off. It's ironic, so I was just about to talk about health care. And what I was going to say, and I better talk fast before I see anybody else fainting around here, is I have been criticized for making a very simple point. And that simple point is that every other major country on earth, the United Kingdom, France, Germany, Scandinavia, Holland, Canada, all of Scandinavia, what they do is guarantee health care to all of their people. That's what they do. Now, I'm a member of the committee that helped write the Affordable Care Act, and it has done some very good things. It has done away with this lunacy of pre-existing conditions. We've added over 17, 18 million people to the ranks of the insured, and we've done away with discrimination against women in health care premiums because they are women. Not a very bright idea. But despite the gains of the ACA, 29 million people today continue to have no health insurance. Many of you and millions of other Americans are underinsured with high co-payments and high deductibles. Is that right? And the pharmaceutical industry is ripping us off every single day. They charge the American people by far the highest prices in the world for prescription drugs. And then on top of all of that, we end up spending far, far more per capita on health care than do the people of any other country. We spend almost 3 times what the British do, 50% more than the French, far more than the Canadians. And that tells me that as a nation, we must move toward a Medicare for all health care program. In my opinion, health care is a right of all people, not a privilege. Now, some people out there, including my opponent, says, well, Bernie's a nice guy, but he's not electable. So let me refer you to many, many national polls which have me beating Donald Trump and beating him badly. And in almost, not all, but most of those polls, I beat him with bigger margins than Secretary Clinton does. Let me tell you why we will defeat Donald Trump and defeat him badly. On economics, Donald Trump believes that we should be giving hundreds of billions of dollars in tax breaks to billionaire families like his. Donald Trump believes that we should not raise the minimum wage above $7.25 an hour. In a TV debate with his Republican friends, Donald Trump said that wages in America are too high. You know, Donald Trump, as you know, is the greatest of everything in every area of life. Just ask him, it'll tell you. And clearly, among his many attributes, he's a world-class scientist. You didn't know this. And he has studied climate change for years, and he has reached the conclusion that climate change is a hoax perpetrated by the Chinese. Now, that a Republican would tell us that climate change is a hoax does not surprise me. That's what they believe. But perpetrated by the Chinese, I was kind of shocked. I would have thought that he thought it was the Mexicans or the Muslims. But even more importantly than economic issues, we will defeat Donald Trump because the American people do not want a president who insults Mexicans, Muslims, who insults women, who insults African Americans, and who led the effort for this birther nonsense, which attempted to delegitimize the presidency of Barack Obama for one reason: the color of his skin. You know, I have found it very interesting that Trump and others try to delegitimize the president, claiming that he was born outside of the United States. My father came to this country from Poland. I am the son of an immigrant. Nobody has questioned and asked me for my passport. Maybe it has something to do with the color of my skin. We will together defeat Donald Trump because the American people understand that standing together trumps divisiveness. Standing together trumps dividing us up. Community working together to help each other trumps selfishness. And most importantly, we will defeat Donald Trump because love trumps hatred. On Saturday at 3 p.m., the caucuses will be held here in Kansas. Kansas can help move this country forward toward a political revolution. Please come out and vote. Thank you all very much.
Well, hi everybody. That was Bernie Sanders live from Lawrence, Kansas. A lot of you joining us right now. Thank you for being here. At more than 800 of you. Wow. Hello. How are you? Probably a little quiet, aren't I? Let me turn this up. So yeah, that was badass. He a lot of stump speech information, but he went off a little bit, said some more things. I think he's getting, as Jane Sanders said in an earlier article we talked about in the newsroom, he's getting more clear. He's defining his differences between him and Hillary Clinton. He's also calling individuals and things out more. I like the way he's doing that. Thank you for being here. I want to say a few things while I have a whole bunch of you with me. I've made some notes really quick. Tomorrow, join me for the newsroom, 9 a.m. Pacific time, noon Eastern, and we will be talking about the latest news, this event, and other things, what's going on with Colorado and the delegate vote, and all the other things we've got to talk about for the upcoming caucus and votes in the primaries. Comment mods. Thank you, everybody out there that's working comment mod right now. The comment section is our most important thing, folks. There are a lot of places you can go and get your Bernie Sanders, a lot of places you can go and get your news. What we do is moderate the comments so that we have a good conversation. That's the most important part for us, having a good conversation, sharing those comments with each other, putting them out there on the web so everybody knows what we think, the 99%, about Bernie Sanders, about what's going on with politics. We welcome anybody with any view, as long as you're not a troll and you're not pushing hate speech. Please join our conversation. That's what this is about, discussing things, discussing politics. This is about informing the electorate. That's what we're doing here. So I want to say thank you to all the comment moderators, comment monitors. That is the most difficult job. That is the key to all of this. That makes this fly. So thank you so much. Fan funding. Bernie 2016 TV does have a fan funding button, and it helps do things like pay for the internet. And I send money to Scott and other individuals to fly them around, help get them things, help pay for their expenses when we do feeds. So it covers some of the basic expenses that, if you're interested, that's on the channel, homepage of the channel. That's all I'll say about it. All the advertising you see on Bernie 2016 TV is from the other content that we run that is monetized. It is not our monetization. So the only monetization we have is that fan funding button. It does not give, it gives like a little fee to YouTube, but it doesn't give them anything in the corporate monetization structure of YouTube. So that's why we did it that way. Lastly, before this, we had We the People with David Sparks, Ohio. He's a candidate for House Rep 43rd District. Watch that wonderful conversation between David and Angela Valdez and John Spalding. Beautiful volunteer effort at Bernie 2016 TV. Watch that episode. Get to know your Bernie-crats, folks. We have to put the Bernie-crats in office. This is absolutely important. All right. That's all my notes. Let's see how many people we got left. Hey, we only lost 100. That's great when that happens. Hello, everybody. So nice to have all of you here. There's so many of you with me. Bear with me a second. We'll go out with a good tune. What are you guys feeling? Are you feeling happy? You feeling happy? We could play something happy. I was going to play Reagan, but I realized not everybody's probably in a Reagan mood. You know. So I got another one. As soon as it loads, I got another one we can play. Just give me 1 second here. Oh, yeah. Lots of comments. Two people, they must have been standing around a long time to have two of them needing medical. Guys, we were talking. I saw some comments fly through earlier. 17,000 people in Michigan, right? 17,000 people. Hillary Clinton in her home state, talked about this earlier. Hillary Clinton, 1,000. Now I didn't talk about the full deal on that. I showed the article earlier, but this is the difference in a movement of the people when we're talking about the next FDR. Bernie Sanders, Michigan, 17,000 people. Not mandatory. 17,000 people show up for that. Okay? The event earlier today, there was overflow. It was an hour late at the event earlier today in Lincoln, Nebraska, because there were 1,000 people or more outside. He spoke with them. And this event here, same thing. There was like 1,000 or more people outside. We're getting reports that he spoke to them first. That's like a doubling of things. Hillary Clinton, New York, the same night Bernie Sanders was in Michigan. She's in New York. 1,000 people. The only reason she had 1,000 people is because it was mandatory. They were getting paid union wage or better to be there. That's the difference, folks. She's worried. They're scared. They're out of money. They're out of money. They're begging for money. They're out of money. They can't pay their staff with Super PAC cash. All right? So they're out of money. Bernie Sanders just got $40 billion in a war chest. The states that really didn't matter all that much just happened. All right? The southern states, that's it. That was Hillary's big push. Yay! That's what she got. The rest is up to us, folks. We bring people to the internet, keep them away from establishment media, right? We've got this. We've got this. We certainly do. Whew. All right. What am I going to play? I got to pull this up. Give me 1 second. I got to pull up a tune. What do I want to run? What do I want to run to get us out of here? This is a good one. This is a good one. I've run this a few times before, but I haven't lately. This is Tyrone Rose Jr., The Revolution, Bernie Sanders. Let's just run out with this, and we will see you all tomorrow for the newsroom if you're around. That is noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. Sorry, I got to frame this. I was all framed on the local station. Thank you to the local station. Who were they? That was Local 41, KSHB. Local stations give us feeds and don't give us crap, so I appreciate that. Local KSHB, Kansas City 41, really appreciate you helping to promote freedom of speech, in particular freedom of political speech. Thank you so much. And all right, enough of that. I had it up here. Here we go. The Revolution, Bernie Sanders, Tyrone Rose Jr. Thank you for joining us. Feel the burn, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow.
Yo, they said this day would never come. They said our sights were set too high. They said this country was too divided, too disillusioned to ever come together around a common purpose. But on this night, at this defining moment in history, you have done what the cynics said we couldn't do. In this new year. In lines that stretched around schools and churches, in small towns, in big cities, we came together as Democrats, Republicans, and independents to stand up and say that we are one nation, we are one people, and our time for change has come.
As we honor the extraordinary life of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., it's important not only that we remember what he stood for, but that we pledge to continue his vision to transform our country. That's what our campaign is about. It is thinking big. It is understanding that in the wealthiest country in the history of the world, we should have health care for every man, woman, and child as a right, that we should raise the minimum wage to at least $15 an hour, that we have got to create millions of decent paying jobs by rebuilding our crumbling infrastructure. So what my first days are about is bringing America together to end the decline of the middle class, to tell the wealthiest people in this country that yes, they are going to start paying their fair share of taxes, and that we are going to have a government that works for all of us and not just big campaign contributors. This campaign is about a political revolution to not only elect the president, but to transform this country. Bad pitch. My fault. Go ahead. All right. We're going T-ball to AA. And in 2 years, the majors. Huge